No, this is digging up archaeological evidence.
Even then, if they found it, they burned it.
Well, for instance, the Sumerian religions, we have over a few thousand years the record of their religion and how they changed. For instance, Baghdad, I think it was. Each tribe had their own god, and there was Baghdad had their own god. Yeah. And in early days, Baghdad was only a small place, and it was only a minor god. But towards the end of their civilization, it was a major city. Therefore, their myth had been rewritten so that he was the supreme god for them.
Was this during the time of Abraham, supposedly? Or?
Well, I haven't got my notes in front of me, and I'm not an expert. I'm just going from memory. Yeah. But I have been reading it, and I'll come back and I'll give a more detailed report sometime. But the point I'm making is that archaeologists have been able to recover a lot of written material from the Sumerians and from that part of the world to be able to see religions evolving. Yeah. And we just don't have that from the Judeo-Christian Muslim background because they were pretty ignorant people.
Yeah, and that's where I sort of put a very big caveat before I actually go into this, and I actually say that,
I should have said primitive, not ignorant, but primitive.
But yeah, that's right. In trying to,
a big difference.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I think it's a big difference. My knowledge of the English, I think it's a big difference between ignorant and primitive.
Well,
I think you should apologise to them.
I do apologise, but I will give an example of how they have misconstrued history. In the Bible, the Philistines are made out to be culturally backward. In fact, we refer to we use the name Philistine to describe someone who is culturally backward. However, the reality is the complete opposite. The Philistines were the most culturally advanced race in the Middle East, but obviously, history is written by the victors. So,
that's right.
I'm glad you wrote this book, Marquez. I think that we needed a book like this. It's important, and especially coming from a person like you that was born in another country and in a country with a different culture than this one. I think that is very important.
Well, you bring up another good point there, and I think being an immigrant to Australia, I do value it. I do value the Australian way of life, and I don't want it changed. When I came here, it was very secular, and I saw the differences straight away. And I do feel that immigrants who do come to this country, they should, and most of them they do appreciate it, but there's also a sense of not fully realizing what it means to be in a democracy.
Also, it's interesting because I hear sometimes some Australians saying, oh, but we don't really have a culture. And I say, wait a minute, it's such a strong culture.
It is unique to them, isn't it?
And it hits you front on. It's a very strong Australian culture, and you swim or you die. It's so strong. and they don't let it go either. No. It's Australian, it's unique Australian culture. When we were making the decision to come to Australia, I asked among the questions they ask,
Yeah.
how were the Catholics, were the Catholics? They said to me, no, the Catholics are minority. They are all Church of England. Oh, I thought, that is all right. If they are not Catholic, that is fine. Anything will be better. And, I didn't know what was the Church of England. I mean, being born in Argentina, I didn't have a clue what was the Church of England. But to me, wasn't Catholic, so that was good.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it sounds like too many people who are Catholics have decided the same thing and come to Australia and boosted the numbers.
Well, you see, I don't know in the Philippines, but in Argentina and in those years, we didn't know that were so many Christians. We thought the Christians were...
It was normal.
The Catholics,
Yeah.
We didn't know that was... I was surprised. Here, the Christians don't like the Catholics. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, you're just going to make a point that recently I have seen things written down, something which goes something like this. There's Muslims and there's Christians and there's Catholics. And you've just repeated that. You've just said that Christians don't like the Catholics.
No.
Or what did you say?
No, they're Christians that don't like the Catholics.
The other types of Christians.
Well, when I went to school, and I won't say when that was, but when I was at primary school, the Catholics were convinced that all the Protestants were going to go to hell, and the Protestants were convinced and believed, that all the Catholics were going to go to hell. So it just shows how much we've changed over a generation.
I thought Church of England, fine, that is all right. That sounds good to me. I didn't know.
Do you know how the Church of England sort of began?
No, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, well, this is another surprise.
Coming from Argentina, no.
This is another surprise for me, was actually how it began. And it began because King Henry, I think it was the 8th.
It was.
He wanted
that one that was killing all the wives.
Yeah, and he wanted a divorce. He wanted to divorce his current wife so he can marry another woman.
That's right.
And he went to the Pope, and the Pope said, no, you cannot have a divorce. And so the church in England became the Church of England overnight. So he ransacked the Catholic churches and implanted and just converted them to his church.
And that's it.
And it became the Church of England. And it's the descendants of that is basically the Anglican Church. Which is something that I did not know again, because all that is somewhat hidden, and you have to sort of dig that up to sort of...
Well, but I tell you, in a way,